For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
WFO Radio. We are back. I'm Joe Castello and super excited to be heading to Topeka, Kansas, the Menards NHRA Nationals presented by Pet Armor, where Pro Stock rejoins the Camping World Series tour. So much going on. Is it going to be the final race there? That's what some are saying. And so we are going to connect with Erica Enders on this show. You know, I was doing a little like paperwork, right? I wasn't paperwork, but I was just like bookkeeping, like who did we not hear from that has won a race this year? And that whole New England, Bristol, double up, head to Norwalk deal, some things got lost in the shuffle. I could tell you that Bob Tasca didn't get on the show just yet. We reached out to Bob. We're going to get him on in the future. But one that we had to do was Erica. Why? Well, she's the 5-time world champ. She's making a run now. She's fresh back from Greece. What was there? What was going on there? Like, that was an amazing experience. She went, so I won't have to. And we'll find out all about that. So if you're a fan of Erica, if you're a fan of Pro Stock, if you're excited that Pro Stock's back on the tour, or just that NHRA is getting rolling again, share the show. Help us, meager WFO, defeat the algorithm where the social media gods out there control all of our lives by sharing and pushing and everything. It will be greatly appreciated. Also, I know you're probably wondering, like, where's Alan Reinhart this week? Yesterday, we had Buddy Hull. We had Gary Pritchett. Great interviews. So much positive feedback out there. Amazing. Reinhart what was he doing? I don't know, traveling, doing a TV show, something media related, but he'll be on after Erica. So stick around. I'm going to tell you about all our great sponsors at some point, unpredictably during this show. But right now, let's just go right out to Erica and get everybody like ramping up and sharing that show, because, you know, Wednesday at noon, that's WFO out of nowhere. Here is your 5-time Pro Stock world champion, Erica Enders. Hey, Erica, how are you?
Hi, Joe. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. But nobody cares how I am. We care how you are, because you just went on like a world tour. You went to Greece, and I'm excited about the drag racing, but I think they're related in that maybe your fresh new mindset. They say world traveling does that to people. So tell me about it.
I don't know about all that, but it's been a little while since we took a vacation. So we headed to Greece for 8 days. We went to Santorini, Mykonos, and then spent the last day in Athens before we flew back to the States. So it was a nice, refreshing trip. The time change was definitely something that was challenging, but I've been to the Middle East a million times, so I remember it from that. But yeah, it was great. We had a good time.
Okay, but I can't let you off the hook with there. Like, what'd you do? Did you just eat? Did you drink? I saw Courtney's social, so I got a pretty good idea of like the layout, but I would imagine you took in some ruins. What does one do in Greece? Was it partying? Was it sightseeing? And what impressed you the most?
I'm definitely not a partier. It was more of a relaxing trip. The first 3 days we spent in Santorini. We had this beautiful villa with our own pool that was like on this cliff that overlooked the ocean. And it was amazing. It was really relaxing. We ate some tremendous food, had some really yummy cocktails. And Santorini is more of like a calm, romantic place. We had a lot of fun there, did some shopping. But then Mykonos is kind of more known for its nightlife, which I did not partake in. But we had another beautiful hotel. We stayed at the Mykonos Grand. If anybody's traveling to Greece, I would highly recommend it. It's a 5-star hotel, more of a resort feel. But we had our own pool again that overlooked the ocean. Mykonos had more beaches, where Santorini was like way up top on cliffs and stuff. So there was more of the ability to go down and take a stroll on the beach. We had a couple of meals on the beach as well. And it was just really nice, honestly, relaxing. I love to shop, obviously. So that part was fun. And then the final day, we cut our trip a day short, but we went to Athens and did some more eating and drinking there and saw some ruins. And we went to the Olympic Stadium, which I'm sure you saw Courtney post. I'm more private about things, but she's always posting everything on there. So you kind of got a little taste for what we saw. But yeah, a ton of history. That's something that's so cool about Europe is how much older it is and how much more history it has than the United States. And there's just a lot to see and do. And, for the most part, people were really kind and not hateful toward being American. So that was refreshing. But yeah, great overall trip.
That's great. Yeah. Greece is one of those places where, the birthplace of democracy and it just like civilization and where, of course we know from movies, what, Sparta, Athens, Sparta, like unbelievable. Like they got it all started and you went there. I have never been outside of the continental United States. Like I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico, but North America is pretty much it for me. I want to go one day at some point, but everything else keeps getting in the way. So you have done for me. I'm now checking Greece off of my list.
There you go. Well, I will sum everything up with America's a great place to be, and I was super excited to be back home. So as beautiful as it is over there, we live in the greatest place on the planet, in my opinion. So.
Oh no, well I think it goes without saying. Of course, if you live someplace else, you might disagree, but I think we've got the receipts to prove it, right? Like over, our nearly 250 years of history, everybody wants to come here. It's an amazing country. We, of course, have our things that we are always working on to improve, as with everybody. But no, I love it. And I love where I live, too, and just Florida. Whenever I get home, like I'm like so happy. Well,
that's almost a foreign country, but it's definitely beautiful where you live. So I love it down there.
Yeah. What did Eddie Gossage call it? North Cuba. It is in many ways true. We're very diverse down here, but okay. So let's summarize your season. The start of the season was terrible. And you said it like, man, terrible start of the season. And you fought and you clawed and you got that Bristol win. And then, hadn't won since then, but it wasn't because of lack of performance. Like, Troy beat you most recently out there in Denver in what was a great race. I think you had a 22 light and you still got clipped. It's just tough out there. It's just tough. So then you have this break, you get to go refresh. And now we have the stretch run. Pro Stock is on the tour for the rest of the way. And you are, like 113 points out of second. And so I would imagine you're ready to make a run as far up in the points as you can get to put yourself in position for championship number 6. But you tell me how you kind of analyze the situation to this point.
I think you summed it up perfectly. The start of our season definitely sucked, for lack of a better term, but we identified our issue and we figured it out in Chicago, and the following race was Bristol. So we went out there swinging for the fences. We went from qualifying 10, 11, 12 to qualifying on the pole and winning the event. So that was definitely the turn that we were looking for. The 2 races following that were, we had a really great race car. Unfortunately, I lost to Dallas Glenn. I had him covered by 300s at 3:30, and then we had a transmission failure. So I'll say your favorite Richard Freeman quote: "If the crickets had pistols, the birds wouldn't mess with them." But had my transmission not failed, we were probably turning that beacon on as well. And then going to Denver, where I lost to my teammate and eventual event winner, TJ Coughlin, who drove his hind end off that weekend. Super deserving of that, and really proud to add another win to the Elite Motorsports column. But unclutched it, and we made some changes. Had the race car to beat, low ET of the entire event. Sunday morning first round, we won a 91, so that was pretty awesome. But just completely ripped the clutch out of it against that run against TJ. So just one of those deals. I was also driving Mountain Motor in Denver, which has been an absolute blast for me. poses different challenges than 500-inch Pro Stock, but it's something that I was really excited to drive because so many people said that I wouldn't be able to, that, it's a real man's car and it's hard to drive. And while those things are true, we will excel at that like we do everything else. So it's been really fun. I enjoyed the double duty. I did not sit down, take my fire suit off, stop working the entire Sunday in Denver, and it was super hot, but just had a super fun time, and got to race Chris Bang, who's on Derek Kramer's team in the finals for Mountain Motor, and he went on to win at his home racetrack. So we were super excited for him. But yeah, start of the season, sucky, but I believe we've made a turn. We have 3 races left before the countdown starts. We're heading to Topeka this weekend, followed by Brainerd, week off, and then the U.S. Nationals. And then we're into the final 6 where it all matters. So, I've won championships where both point systems have benefited us, where, the countdown comes into play like it's going to this year, where Dallas has run away with it like I did last year, not as substantially, but he's having a great year. And the countdown's going to really help us this year. But there are other years that we would have just won the championship with the countdown or not. So it's one of those deals. We all play by the same rules, but we are ready for battle, and I put my money on us.
That's great. No, it's great. You mentioned Chris Vang, good kid, hard worker. He got that accolade. But at the same time, that was a very special weekend, the final race. Hopefully not. All these racetracks, it's the final one, except maybe not. There's the 1 or 2% chance, some hope, people holding on hope. I don't want to be the one to drive the dagger into the heart of someone's hope, but right. So that's why I'm saying that, guys, but I feel like I'm pretty confident. They gave me the sign back here. They didn't do that any other year. So I feel like it was the final one, but you really wanted to win there. That's my point. Everybody did. And
I did for sure.
Didn't fall your way, but you did race the wheels off everything you had, and just kind of reflect on that weekend and how just awesome, emotional it was.
Yeah, definitely. It's been kind of a sad time to see a lot of these tracks go away, starting with my home track in Houston last year. That was sad, but we were able to secure the final victory there. But heading to Denver, this place has played such a huge role in my history. I raced junior dragsters there at the Western Conference Finals with my sister. So we have raced there since the early 90s and have become friends with the Vandermeer family over the years. And, I mentioned it on stage with you when we qualified number 1 there, but they're just salt of the earth people, and unbelievable, as busy as they are and as high profile as they are. I'll give this example. In 2014, right before the final round where Jason Line and I had to race for winner take all for the championship, John and his family came over and asked if he could lead me and my family in prayer before the final round. So it just kind of goes to show what kind of people they are. But no matter what their next step is in their journey, you can bet that it will be state of the art and successful. We've heard scuttlebutt about them opening another facility, building another facility, but either way, whether it was or was not the final race at Vandermeer, what a freaking way to go out. The stands were packed. The support there was absolutely unbelievable. It was hot, but the weather was awesome. And if it is the last race, that was the way to go out for sure. But aside from not being able to secure a victory there ever in my career, still such a great weekend. And I had a blast, and I'm so happy for the Vandermeer family.
That's awesome. That is awesome. We got people out there saying, what's up, Erica? Hello, Joe, and my favorite all-time pro stock racer. So everybody is fired up to see you again. Kind of a bummer not having you guys on the swing, though. I know that pro stocks shortened their schedule a few years ago for a very important reason, and we're seeing it with the car counts, and the racing has been great. But at the same time, not having you at Seattle and Sonoma, I wouldn't want to do that again.
No, definitely not. I mean, we really enjoy racing those places, and, we're just a few races off of being the same schedule as Top Fuel and Funny Car. But the 3 that we skipped this year were Epping, Sonoma, and Seattle, which being centrally located in the country were the 3 most expensive races for us. So Financially, it was definitely helpful, and it gave us a break to get everything caught up in the engine shop. With housing 9 pro stock operations here at Elite Motorsports, we definitely have our work cut out for us. But I think after this couple-week break, you can see a lot of refreshed attitudes, and we're definitely going to be excited to be back at the racetrack this weekend. We've been talking about it for a while now, and we did some testing in Tulsa a couple days ago. We had to do a night test because it's so daggum hot here. It was 110 degrees. At 7:30 p.m. So that was a little rough, but we tested into the wee hours of the morning, and we feel like we're ready to go. So yeah, it definitely sucks to have missed the Western swing, but I'm confident we'll be back next year.
So I hope something, one way or another, that we get you back out there, and obviously Denver won't be there. You said you found the problem. I know you can't say like exactly what the problem was, because maybe there's another team that's having that problem and they're fighting through it, or maybe you can, maybe it was a part, maybe it was something, but what is it that can trip up Team Elite for the first third of the season, coming in off that world championship? And in Gainesville, you had a fast car until the thing wouldn't start. We documented that. It was an electrical gremlin. It was weird. Can you say, were they related? I think people who are interested in pro stock wonder how that can happen. What slows down a team like Elite and a driver like Erica Enders for 4 or 5 races?
We were definitely baffled ourselves in asking the same questions, but you get in those situations where I've said it a million times, we feel like we win races before we leave the race shop by being prepared, by having everything in order and super organized. That way, when problems do arise, we can address them and fix them quickly. With all our C-Tech manufacturing cabinets, it makes all of that really easy to access. But it definitely tripped us up, and it was super confusing because at preseason testing in Bradenton, we went out there and we won testing. We were low ET by a hundredth and a half, and then we went to Gainesville. We qualified on the pole the first day, and then TJ Coughlin snuck in and got us by mile per hour. We were number 2 going into Sunday, and as you mentioned, my car wouldn't start. So from that point forward, we were kind of chasing our tails. We got behind the 8 ball. Then you start going down these roads, and it doesn't matter how smart you are, how good you are, how much money you have. It's competitive problem solving, right? And it's super challenging. So we started having these issues, and we'd see them like sneak up in another car, but then they go away. It was like the most random, stupid, crazy BS you've ever seen in your life. We start having these issues, and you start grasping for straws, as my team owner says, and then you start making more mistakes. And we kind of just went down this little spiral, and by grasping for more straws in Chicago, we ended up identifying our problem. So in a sense, it sort of helped us, but we were making 3, 4, 5 engine swaps a weekend in my car, and we're like, it's not the freaking horsepower. What is it? It's not the race car. Mark's confident in the race car. It's not our shocks. Like, so you go down this list, and as you know, there are so many variables. It's actually amazing that we go down the track from point A to point B as often as we do successfully with all of the variables that we have. So I can't say what it was, but we were when we put our finger on it changed immediately, and you could see that was the final qualifying session in Joliet. We came out Sunday morning. We were low ET of race day. Unfortunately, I lost that round on a hole shot, which whatever, I don't want to talk about it. But we figured out our problem, and that was what was most important. And we moved forward, and we won the next event. So I think that you can look for a lot of good things to come. But there's a lot of really great competition out there right now. But what we have here at Elite, you can't buy, and that's what makes it so awesome. And I'm just so proud of what we've established, and even through the hard times, like you can't get any harder than what we went through in 2016, and it didn't tear us apart. It made us stronger. So we have the same core group that I've had here since 2014, and it's not going to change. They're my family, and it's awesome. And no matter what, I think we'll win, whether it's on the racetrack or off.
I think that is a great assessment right there. And competitive problem solving, though. Competitive problem solving. There's another team across the pit area. They've got their own challenges also, and who can work it out the best. That's something that we probably should show more, whatever we could see. But you guys worked it out. It's great stuff. All right, so we're headed to Topeka for the final time, maybe. But there is that Flying H Motorsports Park that is being built kind of across town on the east side of Kansas City. People are excited about that. But Heartland Motorsports Park, wow, historic racing facility, kind of different layout than anywhere else we go. The fans are much farther away from the track. It gives a totally unique perspective of the cars going down the racetrack. The pits are far. You're going on a road course like drive. You're making laps just to get to the staging lanes. It's pretty crazy there. But here we go. Final time. We're going to get that crowd, get that energy where people hope who have maybe never not been to the track in years or never been to the track want to come and see it one time or a final time. And we've experienced this now too much, but it's usually pretty wild.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. It's usually a sellout, and people hear it's the final one. They come out in huge groups. So Phoenix was the same way. Houston was the same way. Bandimere. So fully expect Topeka to be that way as well. But definitely a great facility, super clean. It's awesome for the sportsman racers and people who go out to camp. They have great bathroom and shower facilities. I mean, it's a really great place to race. So other than it being 152 degrees outside, we're gonna definitely look forward to this weekend. So saw a promotion on Instagram the other day that while supplies last, you can buy one event pass and get one free. So if you haven't already done so, get on it and bring your friends and family.
Look at you. You got like your promoter hat on. No, that's good. Really, everybody should. I really wish and hope that the drag racing community can continue to pull together. That's going to be our source of strength. And we're gonna be doing that in the future. We'll talk about it. But like I think about Ron Capps, right? He's in this SRX race on Thursday night, going up against a bunch of round track racers. He's gonna be in a dirt car on a round track. I hope every drag racer is like watching Ron and feeling like he's representing our crew. It's going to be pretty cool to see that. And you mentioning an Instagram deal, I didn't know that. So WFO Universe, if you're out there anywhere, like I'm talking like 200, 300 miles away, you got to come take part in this deal. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of were cutting in and out. That's the Wynnewood Wi-Fi here, but at the end of that. But I caught a part about Ron Capps racing, and super excited to have a drag racer that's going to turn left. I remember earlier on in my pro stock career going out to the circle track in Las Vegas and watching him and Alan Johnson and J.R. Todd tear up the dirt track. So it's definitely a lot of fun to see some straight line guys turn left.
Yeah, and speaking of promoting, you were involved in a big press conference earlier this week. The pro organization, you, Tony Stewart, Richard, Alan Johnson, Chad Head, Bob Tasca, Wes. It was an all-star group, and putting your, joining forces, putting your energy together to do something special at the beginning of next season, but the motivation behind it, I'm already excited about, quickest ETs ever, right? Like, is there going to be a 359 top fuel dragster? Is someone going to run 340 miles an hour? The air down there is going to be incredible in February. Oh my goodness. But talk a little bit about some of the motivation behind that, like getting involved and starting with a little promotion.
So this is something that's been being discussed behind the scenes for quite some time. It's obviously just being brought to the public's attention, but Michelle Domagala, Chad Head, Alan Johnson, Richard Freeman, Woody, Bob Tasca, all the people that are on the board for the pro organization, put their heads together. Tony Stewart's a new addition as well. And we want to do something to help grow our sport. This is not something to be perceived as negative or you're not included, so let's talk crap about it type deal. This is something that is super, super freaking exciting. And if you watch the press conference, as you mentioned, all of the names, in addition to that, Steve Torrence, my sister, and Wes Buck, who is like promoter of the century, and just is so passionate about our sport. I think with the brains and the successful businessmen and women that are behind this, it is a recipe for success like sky is the limit. This is going to be awesome. So, you know, you and I always talk about the naysayers online. It's there's only a handful of them when there are millions and millions of positive things going on out there. So you just kind of have to ignore it and move forward. But for these superstars of our sport to go to a location that is not sanctioned by NHRA, and we're going to put on the best show in the world, the best drag racers on the planet in mine shaft conditions on a racetrack that Victor has taken so much pride in and done so much hard work to. Every time we go down there and test, that's kind of where Pro Stock goes when the fuel cars go to West Palm. And we've been going there for years and years and years. So I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about it. I think it's something to look forward to for everyone. And let's just see how it goes before we start talking crap.
Yeah, well, exactly. There were, I saw the responses, right? And my deal is I'm just kind of taking in the whole situation. I'm just kind of observing the whole situation. My first take on it was about speed milestones and performance milestones, just because I know the weather conditions down there, and we're going to see them if they don't already get eclipsed at some point in 2023, in my opinion. That's interesting stuff, and we'll see how it all shakes out and the way it goes. But when you get that kind of force of power, Tony Stewart, the Steve Torrence, all on the same page, you guys trying to accomplish a goal, whatever happens, it's going to be fun watching you guys put your mind to something. Speaking of which, I don't know if this is good or bad to bring up, but I'm going to bring it up because William is saying something that I've heard people say, which is Erica looks like she picked up 500s in the gym. Like you've been hitting the gym. Have you been hitting the gym, Erica? Is that a thing?
Yes. I got tired of reading the fat cross-eyed comments, and listen, I travel for a living. I'm never home. You know, Joe, it's hard. There's a lot of good food out there. I'm a food person, but I got a little chubby there. So it was just one of those deals. I had to get a hold of it. I'm working with a group out of Georgia that's helping me with nutrition, but honestly, 80% of it is about what you put in your mouth and then getting everything internally balanced. So I'm down a little bit over 30 pounds and I'm going to keep on going. But I feel a lot better. And I appreciate the kind comment. Thank you.
No. Hard work pays off.
What? Can you say that again? I don't know.
Hard work pays off. I don't know what kind of speaker situation you got going on there, but hard work pays off. And Will is saying something, but I've heard people say it in the pit area, like, man, and I'm sure Mark loves that too. I'm sure Mark is like, hey man, there's we can do different things with the car as well. Not to get hung up on this topic, but I'm just saying, good job.
Thank you. Yeah, no, Mark's down 80 pounds himself. Richard's down 100. Chase is down 70. So collectively, we've all been trying to be less unhealthy around here. So it's definitely helpful for the race car. I mean, being a girl, I weigh less than the guys anyways. So, and I have over 100 pounds of ballast on my car, but it definitely makes it to where you can put it where the car needs it instead of just being in the driver's seat. So thank you.
Exactly. All right. Before we wrap up, speaking of unhealthy,
what?
This guy wanted to say hello to you.
What do you mean, speaking of unhealthy? I'm on the Richard Freeman program.
It's just a fun transition, you do it all the time. Speaking of unhealthy, here's Alan Reinhart.
Hi, E.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
Well, I'm not as good as you, but it gives me something to shoot for.
Living the dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just got back from Indy late last night and headed out to Topeka tomorrow, and then on we go. But you know that routine. I didn't get to go on vacation in the south of France or in the the Cloud City, Stratosphere place, or wherever the heck you guys were. But it's been an interesting summer out here on the road as well.
Well, good.
Any questions for E before we let her go? And any questions that you wanted to hit her with, Alan? But before we let her go, just getting ready to wrap up. Going to do the Alan Reinhart moment here on the show, but if there was anything, now would be the time.
No, not really as far as a question standpoint, but I'm sure that you know this, and I'm sure that you saw some of the stuff on social media as well. We got a ton, or at least I certainly did my announcer email. Where's Pro Stock from Seattle, from Sonoma? the race fans out in that part of the world that are used to seeing you guys. The Seattle folks really loved having the motorcycles there, but I want you to know that you guys were all missed while we were out here on the tour. I know that you were enjoying a little break and taking some time away, but looking forward to getting you guys back on track because it certainly adds to the program when everybody's there.
Yes, definitely. We're excited to be back. We're back for the rest of the year. And we as well get a whole bunch of emails and social media stuff about why aren't you there? I'm not sure why people aren't catching on to this yet. But unfortunately, we weren't part of the schedule in Sonoma and Seattle, but that's okay. We're back for the remaining part of the preseason and all of the countdown. So Pro Stock's ready to go to battle.
Excellent.
Right on. Well, looking forward to it. Looking forward to the rest of the season. I also saw the press conference that you guys did about the big event you guys are having down in Bradenton. One thing you said a minute ago, though, I just would like to clarify. Bradenton is an NHRA sanctioned facility. It may not be on the national event tour, but Bradenton is an NHRA sanctioned track. So I think they should get
I know that, and I knew it when it came out of my mouth. I just meant it was a race that NHRA wasn't putting on.
Not a national event facility. No, I get it. I'm looking forward to it. I think that the hype is certainly good. The lineup looks like it's going to be out of this world. And I'll tell you the same thing that Joe and I talk about here every week. Give us good weather, right? If they give you good weather, you guys will put on a heck of a show down there. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, one more person. I wish I knew who this was. You're the best. Good luck the rest of the season. And that's been the sentiment from...
No, they're talking to me.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for having your Joe. Great show, as always. Appreciate it. Maybe that's Courtney. Who knows? But Erica, thank you very much. We'll see you this weekend. Thank you very much for taking the time for us here on WFO Radio. Good luck. It's going to be wild.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me as always, and hope you all have a great rest of the week.
Good having you guys back. See you in a couple days.
There you go. Erica Enders, the 5-time Pro Stock World Champion, with us here on WFO Radio. And from that to this, I'm just having fun, Alan. I'm just having a little fun.
Bring it. Come on, bring it. Bring it.
No,
I don't have any feelings, but
you're the
bring
guy who invented that whole kind of humor. You got a little Worldwide Technology Raceway shirt on. Couldn't make it yesterday, which was really cool because we pushed you to today. It works perfectly, and we got to hang out with Buddy Hall and Gary Pritchett, which I got a lot of positive feedback. Had not had Buddy on the show, and everybody is saying that Buddy Hall was amazing, as an individual. I know you know him, but he was very motivational, and got me very excited about the future with Buddy Hall out there on the tour.
Yeah, I do know him a little bit, and I agree. I think that, he's a guy who's driven. He is focused. He understands what his goals are. He understands that he's not going to achieve them day after tomorrow, but he's got a plan in place to continue to build the program and expand the program. He's very personable. He's very well spoken. If he's talking to a sponsor, he knows how to deal with that. He knows how to handle that. If he's talking to fans, he knows how to do that. And obviously, he's pretty successful in business as well. So the whole package there. And I was going to do the old Matt Hagan thing, right? He and I go to the same gym, but I'm just going to. I think that one. I've probably used that one up by now.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Well, watching Erica, people talking about her hitting the gym, and she mentions life on the road and how tough it is, and it is, man. It's really tough to be healthy, to eat healthy, and these guys like Hagan and now E and everybody that's doing healthy stuff. Yourself losing weight all the time. It's a great challenge. You're all doing a great job. You can do your Hagan reference as often as you want.
Well, for those who haven't heard it, Buddy Hull and I go to the same gym. I fold the towels, but we're at the same gym. Ask Buddy when he goes to the gym if the towels are neatly and nicely folded, because I take a lot of pride in that.
Buddy probably owns the gym and will be signing your check if that was.
He very well might. He's. I don't know how much you talk to him about business, but some of the business stuff he does is, I think, just incredible and ingenious. And he also does a lot to give back to the community as well. He knows that he's been fortunate, and he knows that there are some down there that are not as fortunate. So when he gets an opportunity to do something to give back to the community, he's certainly willing to jump in and do that. But pretty much all around good guy.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. We did talk about a knife fight that he had gotten into recently. So everyone's just going to have to go and check out the show. But yeah, it took a dark turn. In 1 minute, we're talking positive energy, and in the next second, he's about to be shanked by someone in a parking lot. It was a fun one. You, this past weekend, you were doing divisional racing in there in Indianapolis. One of the big weekends when NHRA is off, all these track promoters, it's summer. I don't want to call it the end of the summer. It's the middle of the summer. And everybody is rocking out. Loans was in Boise. You're in Indy. Gary Pritchett was at 131. Our stars were at night under fire. There was all kinds of stuff happening everywhere, and it was just a great weekend for drag racing as a sport in general, beyond the NHRA side of it, in Camping World Series side of it. But tell us about Indy, and what did you see there, and was it cool, etc.?
Yeah, it was a good event. We had, we had a threat of weather on Sunday afternoon, so Will made the decision to bump it up, and we ran eliminations to conclusion on Saturday. This actually was a rescheduled race. This is the race that normally runs, I believe, in April, but got rained out earlier in the year. So this was an open weekend on the tour. They rescheduled to come back, but we still had, I want to say, 520 cars. So it was a good, solid turnout. It was good racing. A couple of minor incidents, but nothing that's going to put anybody out of business. But overall, it was a really, really good weekend. And it's just, those things are fun for me because we can go out there and have some fun, right? You can make fun of the competitors. We do, our donut runs and our giveaway stuff and some of that kind of thing that just aren't part of the national event tour. So I like getting out there and doing that. And it also is a little bit more of a laid back atmosphere, which gives me an opportunity to spend a little time, to go down in the staging lanes and talk to some of the racers and catch up a little bit, stuff that I just don't get to do as much of on the national event trail. So I ended up staying an extra day in Indy, had something else come up, other stuff that made me stay the extra day. So I didn't get in until late last night, and I'm out early tomorrow morning, but hey, all is good. I'm ready to go.
All right. So I've been pushing this Ron Capps SRX deal. I saw you tweet about it, and don't worry guys, we're going to talk about the race in Kansas, but I think this is an opportunity. I'm always thinking in like these big, like we can increase their ratings if all the drag racers support Ron Capps and watch SRX. They could see a bump in their ratings compared to the rest of the season, which will then be really good for maybe drag racers being a part of it in the future. And I know people assume, racing, all racers watch all racing, but that's not necessarily the truth. Honestly, I've only seen some of one SRX race this year. I will be locked in on Thursday night to watch Ron Capps. I don't know if there's going to be a watch party somewhere in Topeka, but I've already, texted some people about it. But I think this is a really big deal, and I want to make it a big deal for our whole drag racing straight line community.
I think so too. One, it's an opportunity for us to introduce one of our stars to different motorsports sanctions, different motorsports fans who may not follow drag racing. Ron obviously is a pretty accomplished circle track racer. He's, not Tony Stewart by any means, but he has raced at Eldora before. As a matter of fact, I've been with him when we raced at Eldora before. He raced in the Prelude to the Tour thing a number of years. He's driven midgets for Tony Stewart at the Chili Bowl. He's got a little bit of a background on dirt, which is why that they chose this particular race for him to come in. And I just hope he puts on a positive showing. I don't think anybody's expecting him to win the race by 2 laps. But I think if he has a solid top 10 or top 5 finish and goes out there and shows well for the drag racers, then potentially that could open the door for Tony to invite somebody else, not just Tony, but for the SRX guys to invite somebody else from the drag racing discipline. I'd love to see Doug Coletta get a shot to get out there. He's got a big background in circle track racing before he got into the drag racers, but there's no such, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity. I won't say that that's necessarily true, but this is certainly good publicity. I think it'll give drag racers a chance to take a look at a new formula of racing, which is designed to be fun as much as anything, right? I mean, when you bring in guys from the dirt world, guys from NASCAR, guys from IndyCar, and now Ron Capps, I think that's great to get all of the different disciplines together and draw some of the fans from other disciplines that maybe, we can convert some. Maybe some of the drag race fans will go look at that and go, hey, this is pretty cool. Maybe I'll keep a little closer on SRX as it moves on to the future. But it is very close to the format of the old IROC series. But the fact that they do it on live television, it is a made-for-television show, right? I mean, they come on the air and go, hey, everybody, welcome. We're at Eldora. Throw the green flag. And we're off and running. They have their heat races that are either laps or timed. If they have a bunch of caution flags and they run out of time, fine. They'll throw the checkered flag and reset and go again. But they keep the show moving. They make it all happen. They make it exciting. There's not a lot of downtime. There's not a lot of time when the cars aren't on the track. If fans tune in at 9 o'clock to watch racing, you're going to see racing starting at about 9:01.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good, and I'm excited. Go, Ron. No pressure, Ron. But, good luck. We're all counting on you. Simple as that. All right, let's talk a little Topeka, Kansas. The final time, maybe. Here we are. We're going to this race. Last year, Erica joked it was 150 degrees out there last year. Definitely have PTSD to our event last year. I hear it's not going to be quite as bad. But here we go, though, Alan. Western Swing in the books. And we've got 2 races before the U.S. Nationals, which is a little different, but you better have your act together. Your act is better be together. It's go time. It's panic time. If you're not there yet, you got to get there this weekend and next weekend in Brainerd, because they all matter now.
Well, if you haven't got it figured out by now, I don't see anybody flipping the switch once we get to Indy and start running through the countdown to the championship. You better have everything going for you. And, we saw it on the Western Swing that there's some teams that have some work to do. We saw it on the Western Swing. There's some teams that are certainly swinging the pendulum in the right direction as we're getting to this point of the season. But we've got 2 races left. They're back-to-back. So if you don't get it figured out pretty quick here, then I think it's going to be a long countdown to the championship. But you look at, in particular, the Coletta team, right? They are definitely on an upswing. They are getting warmer at the right time of year as we get into the countdown. You look at some of the other teams that maybe aren't. And it's not necessarily the car's not running good. They just don't have anything to show for it. They're going out there and coming up a little short when they leave the racetrack. And you've got to get that figured out, whether it's a matter of, having a seance or bringing in a witch doctor or whatever it is that you got to do to get that turned around. Now's the time to do it, because, you just can't keep waiting. It's as simple as that.
So we spoke with Gary Pritchett yesterday. He was great, kind of informally representing the Capco team. Felt like they're good. They're okay. Justin Ashley, 5 wins. Steve Torrence, 1 win. And they're only 32 points behind one another. It shows that you've got consistency. Steve going to finals and semis, and Justin is win or first round. I think he's got 1 second round loss. What does that say? Does that say anything? Is there anything for us to analyze there, the points? Is there a lesson to be learned there? Should wins matter more? Is that nothing? I just looked at it the other day, and it kind of triggered me thinking, Steve's been on the other end of that, right? Steve's been the guy with 5 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, and now he's not. Countdown notwithstanding, for Steve to have 1 win and Justin to have 5, and they're virtually tied.
I actually don't think that they should make any changes. I think specifically because our sport is sudden death every round. I look at what they've done in NASCAR, what they've done in other disciplines that I follow, where wins are more. Wins are more. Okay, fine. But in NASCAR, you can have a bad first pit stop, and you can still come back and have a top 5. Now, is that as good as a win? No, but your day's not a complete disaster. In NASCAR, you can go a lap down. Right? You can have a flat tire. You can have an issue. You can still come back and get a top 10. It's not a win, but you still turned a decent day out of it. In NHRA, if you screw up round 1, you're done. You can't make a mistake round 1 and then go, okay, well, as long as we get out of here with a semifinal finish, it's not a complete disaster. And so that's why I like the way it is now. Justin Ashley has 5 wins. Congratulations to him. But he knows, and everybody on that Phillips Connect team knows, they need to clean up the first round losses, because that's what came back and bit them last year. They had a great car last year going into the countdown to the championship. What happened? 3 first round losses, and you can't overcome that. So that's something that they've got to work on. If you're Steve Torrence, I don't change the program at all. I think if you're in the semis, you're in the finals on a regular basis, you're going to get your wins. And you can't throw away the system that's gotten you there. You can't just go in now and go, okay, guys, now we got to go for wins. We got to press a little harder. I don't think you can do that. So I like the way it is now. I think that simply because our sport is sudden death from the first pair of cars that goes down the racetrack, if you gave an extra 20 points or 50 points or whatever for a win, I just don't think that would help overall. Do you think right now, Justin Ashley, with what's he got, 4 first-round losses and a second or something, do you think he deserves to be 200 points up? I don't know, and that's the discussion that I guess we would have to have. He is up. He's up 32 points, and that's like a round and a half or 1 round at the U.S. Nationals. The 5 wins, and I don't know. I think wins should definitely count for more, but not too much that Justin would be
erasing everybody else. Because, imagine Steve's got all these runner-ups. He's got quite a few runner-ups. He's been very consistent. They've gone rounds all year long. They're having a really good year. The wins just haven't happened yet. So he should definitely not be so far behind Justin that he can't be relevant. But it's definitely worth thinking about.
And again, I disagree. I think that because Steve has erased or minimized those early rounds, that he should be where he is. I mean, even if you made it 20 points, okay, if you go an extra 20 points for a win, Justin's got 5 wins. He's up 100 points. That's an entire race. And I don't think if you're going to lose first round on a regular basis that, you should be able to erase that plus with a win. I think a first round loss and a win should be equal on opposite ends of the spectrum, if you know what I'm saying. If you're going for semis every week, if you got a first round one week, you kind of blank that out by winning the next week, but I don't think you blank that out and then advance by winning the next week. So, I like the fact that we've had good points battles in everything except Pro Stock Motorcycle, where Gage is basically stinking the joint up. But I also like going into the countdown to the championship. Would you want the championship to come down to, okay, if Steve Torrence, just to pick a name out of the hat, if Steve Torrence wins the World Finals, he's going to win because he gets bonus points for the win, not because of the round points that there normally are. I mean, I don't think you should make that one round worth more than the other rounds, because every round out there is sudden death.
Interesting. All right. No, works for me. Looking at Doug Coletta, you mentioned Doug, you mentioned Langdon. Those guys feel like they're coming around. How far around, who knows? Alan told me that they're 85% into their program, like where they want to go, 15% left to go. And some might say that final 15% is the hardest. But that ship is turning. Josh Hart, some strong performances. I go top to bottom. Your 10th place player, Clay Milliken, has 2 wins. And so as we get into this countdown time, the U.S. Nationals time, the most critical of times, I'm finding it difficult to count very many people out completely. Like, this is a wide open field, the likes of which we really have never seen.
Well, you mentioned Clay Milliken has 2 wins, but look what he's done the rest of the time. And again, you've got to erase those early round losses. That's what you've got to do. I don't think, I think you get a mulligan in the countdown to the championship. I think you can have a first round loss. If you've got a really good car, maybe you can have 2. I don't think you can have 3 first round losses and win the championship. Now, is it mathematically possible? Sure. But I just don't see that happening. And I think, Justin Ashley showed us all that last year. Had a great car, went into the countdown, stubbed their toe a little bit. Brittany went into the countdown, had a couple of first round losses, and all of a sudden she's like struggling. But then they got it back together. They ended up winning a couple of races. They ended up going late rounds once they got the thing back together, and that was enough to put the monster team back on top. So I like the structure now. I like the way the structure is now. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, if it was me, I'm not sure I would do points and a half at Pomona. Does it add more excitement? Okay, yeah, but in the Super Bowl, they don't give you 10 points for a touchdown in the fourth quarter just because time's running out. I think that, just my personal opinion, I'm not a big fan of the points and a half in Pomona.
That's interesting. That's a nice analogy, right? The Super Bowl fourth quarter touchdown is worth 10 points. Maybe they should do that. I don't know. But kind of an interesting angle. No, I appreciate it, and it's looking good. Like Top Fuel, Justin, 5 wins, but they do have an Achilles heel, which is that round 1 smoke the tires out, which is also what kind of beat them last year in the countdown. That's what beat them was those late season round 1 outs, and they got to figure a way around that. That's their number one thing. They got to figure a way around that.
The craziest thing last year in the countdown to the championship, every single car in the countdown to the championship that won a race lost first round at the next race. Every one of them, except Brittany. When Brittany won Las Vegas, she went to Pomona and didn't lose first round. Going into that, every winner of the previous race had lost, then came in and lost first round. So nobody really got a whole lot of momentum going there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Countdown still a bit away, but the jockeying for seeding is going to be important. and also those Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge points will be added.
Huge.
And it's going to factor in. We just don't know exactly how, but it's going to factor in.
Well, Justin Ashley basically has, almost a full round because of that, right? Doesn't he have 22 of them or 24 of them or something from everything that he's done in there? And so that is going to be a bonus that I think could pay big dividends. And that's something I think different because you earn those, right? I mean, it's not like we're just giving you a bonus for whatever. You've got to go earn those points every week, and they've done a good job at collecting them. So, God bless them. Add those to the total, and let's see where we shake out after Indy.
Let's talk funny car where Matt Hagan is the points leader. Mr. Turn Left on Dirt, Ron Capps is 19 points out. Chad Green, what an amazing season Chad Green and Daniel Wilkerson are having. It's a crime. I should have had Daniel Wilkerson on the show a long time ago. Love him. He's a friend. He's awesome. I think he's great for the sport. It just it hasn't worked out. Daniel, you're invited. But Chad doing such a great job. Robert Height has slid down to 4th, but we know what they're capable of. Alexis DeJoria, 5th in points, even with the various struggles. That shows you how great that car has been. Tim's got a couple of wins. Tasca's got a win. JR's got a win. Force and Cruz 9th and 10th in the points. Blake is trying to race his way into the top 10. It could happen. He would have to knock Cruz Pedregon out. He's sitting 11th right now. Otherwise, he won't qualify for the countdown. Then again, I don't know if Jim Head even wants to run the countdown, right? Like that's another added element to the whole deal. Funny car, which has been the most competitive class over the past several years, still extremely competitive. What do we have? Do we have a big 3 situation? Do we have a big 4 situation? What do we have? Do we have a race that anybody can win right now? Especially with JR surging the way that they have.
Well, JR's team needs to keep it going. They certainly, as I said, they're the pendulum is swinging in the right direction, but they need to keep it going because they've still got some ground to make up. They've got good momentum now. They've got a car they're comfortable with now. They're back in. The car that JR is driving now is the PBRC car that got wrecked in, Phoenix, I think, right? Or Pomona, wherever it was. Anyway, that's the car that JR is back in now. They were very comfortable with that car at the beginning of the season. After having it sent back and being repaired and getting it back, now they're very comfortable with it again. So I think that they're going to be a factor, but they need to keep stringing them together. I still think, the big 3 are probably the favorites, with Chad Green being a thorn in everybody's side because you look at the ladder, and I guarantee you, everybody that looks at the ladder, if you're Matt, if you're Ron, if you're Robert, whether they admit it or not, you look at the ladder and you go, okay, good. Capps and Hagan are on the other side, right? Okay, good. And then you look, and now you're looking and going, where's Chad? Because he is the guy who has been not really on the radar for the last couple of years, that now all of a sudden, even though he hasn't parked it in the winner's circle yet, but he is a legit threat, especially early in the day. So you start looking now, not just where are Ron, where's Robert, where's Matt, where's Chad, because I think he has earned that respect from his peers right now by the way the car's running.
Yeah, I agree. And having spoken with him a few times, multiple times, I did the 3 races on NHRA on Fox, and I spent a lot more time in the pit area than I get to when we're just doing our regular program. And seeing Chad, the way his personal athletic methodology, you want to call it, right? He was excited. He's excited to be living these moments. He's hungry. Not that everybody isn't hungry, but maybe for some of these racers, it's become routine after 5-10 years doing it, going after the championships. There's a routine. They're a routine athlete. Chad is not that. Chad is hungry and savoring every moment and every opportunity to go, driver versus driver against JR. Yeah, I'm looking for payback. He beat me on a hole shot last week. Here we go. Even enjoying the downside of it because he's a funny car driver. I don't know. I got my eye on him as well.
Well, I think there's another element to that, and that is that Chad is out there spending his own money, right? I mean, he is out there on his own dime for the most part. Does he get some help from the folks at Summit and Boxo? Yes. But Bond Code is his company. That's his name on the side of the car most of the races. And I think that's a little bit like Steve Torrence, right? When Steve Torrence is out there, you're spending your own money. And I think that's extra motivation that you want to go out there and do well. If you're out there with a big corporate partner, if you're out there, I'm not saying you don't want to win, but when you're spending money to be there, that really makes you want to get out there and show something for a return on your investment.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And he's doing it. And hopefully they will bring on some sponsorship as well to solidify Chad out there. Like, that's the whole deal. We need more money, more sponsorship, more. All right, Pro Stock. We just heard from Erica. Dallas leading by 200 over Hartford, who's got 202 back, Troy 204 back, Derek 247 back. Erica is 315 back. She can make a run up to second. It would be a total, I don't even think it's possible for Dallas to collapse that badly. But these positions, like the seeding for the countdown, does make a difference. And I'll be interested to see these next couple of races before Indy. Of course, Indy is 1.5 points. But there's been some testing. This break, what have you done with the break, I think is going to matter. And there's no guarantee that people are going to come back exactly as they left, if you get what I mean.
No, I agree with you. You talked about the fact that Erica went to the gym. Okay. Jake went to the dyno room. They know they're not where they need to be. They know they need to tweak a little bit on the engines. They know they need to tweak a little bit on the cars. They know that overall, so far this year, KB has had a little bit of a performance advantage. But, KB knows that too, right? It's not like Greg Anderson went late on the beach for 3 weeks and said, well, let's see if they can catch us. He's been out there working. He's been in the dyno room. He's been, I couldn't tell you how many times, but I guarantee you they've drugged the cars over to Mooresville on a pretty regular basis to make some short launches and try some stuff, because that's their MO, right? Either in the shop or at the racetrack every day. When you're behind, you got to work hard to try to erase the disadvantage. When you're ahead, you got to keep working to try to keep your advantage. Both of them are motivating. Both of them are, and we'll see. We're going to find out pretty quick. We get 2 races in 2 weeks, so we'll find out pretty quick who made the most of this 3-week break or month-long break that the Pro Stock teams had.
Yeah, we are going to know. Heartland Motorsports Park. Alan, you were there for a lot of the big moments. Some of them you were not there for, I'm sure. But, the Jim Epler 300, Chuck Etchells, Brian Lones did his 5 major moments bit that's out there on NHRA.com. Everybody should go watch it because it's good. Gary Ormsby. But that 2017 laid-back headers event, I was down on the top end for that one. And it was just insanity because at the time, I don't think we had fully figured out why this was happening. What do you recall from that particular event? We had come on the Western Swing. Jimmy and Beckman, I believe, had been the first to do it. And by the time we got to Topeka, people had figured it out and they were doing it. And I don't know that I, in that moment, had put everything together. I know it was certainly not a big public story just yet. How incredible was that when you think back?
Well, if you're the guy doing it, you don't want it to be a public story, right? You want to keep that secret as long as you can keep it. The problem with something like that is it's out in the open. And if you knew what to look for, it was pretty obvious. And I will freely admit, I didn't notice it the first couple of times. And when somebody said, well, they got the headers laid back, then you go, holy crap, they got the headers laid back. I mean, it was literally that visible. But then the other teams, and while Jimmy and Jack were the first ones to make it work, and they swapped them in Denver, they were not the first ones to experiment with it. So there were a couple other teams that had, I think, a set of headers, laying in the rafters kind of thing. And then everybody started building them. And all of a sudden, you realized that on a good racetrack where you don't need all the downforce the first 100 or 150 feet until you've got the momentum going and the body starts providing it, you can use those headers to provide forward thrust, and then that pays dividends at the top end as well. And man, it was just game on at that point.
Yeah, it really was. We'll be out there final time this weekend, maybe final time. Any final thoughts, anything you want to mention? I've got something. Maybe it's the same. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, as far as Topeka goes, there were so many great moments out there. One that I remember in particular was Joe Amato made the first ever sub 460 run at Heartland Park, Topeka. He went 4:59.8 or whatever it was, but the first barrier breaking run under 4.6 seconds. They're parading Joe back down in front of the grandstands, right? quickest car in the history of the world, barrier breaking. While they're parading him down in front of the grandstands, Blaine Johnson goes 4:59 with a 6. And they're like, oh, never mind. Get him out of the way. We'll bring the other guy up in a minute. And Heartland Park over the years has been known for that kind of performance. When the weather was good, the track is just amazing. Especially after it was resurfaced. There was, the year that it was bleeding so bad. It had rained coming in the week before, and then it quit raining, and the water was coming up, and we ended up having to cancel the race. But the surface itself, from the first time it was built and then after they rebuilt it, has always been spectacular. If the weather was good, you knew that place was going to be memorable. I was there when John Force put up the 25,000 for the first 4-second run because he was absolutely convinced it was going to be him. And he needed to burn out, had a brake caliper fail, and they shut the car off. He never made the run. Chuck Etchels goes out and runs the 498, of course, and like one of the great moments in time. John Force had convinced Castrol that they needed to do this because it was going to be good publicity. I'm the one that's going to do it, and blah, 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 blah. And John Howell, who at the time was, the Castrol sponsor rep, John told him, look, I know it's going to be me. I'm going to do this. If it's not, I will pay for half of it, okay? I'll put up 12.5, but I'm that confident that it's going to be me. So after they shut John off with a brake problem on the starting line, and Chuck Etchels goes 494, John Howell goes over to John Force, and he says, you better have your 12,500. John said, yeah. He said, I got it. He said, well, I don't. I still have to go to corporate and tell them I did this. And, just like great moments in drag racing history. And then Epler making a 300-mile-an-hour run when nobody saw that coming. Nobody thought that a funny car would jump into the 300-mile-an-hour club with all the dragsters. But Mike Klober had figured something out that the other guys hadn't, keeping the cylinders clean and keeping the thing running on the top end of the racetrack. And so he was able to make that milestone all in the same weekend. But Topeka will always have a lot of great memories. And, I've talked about it here so many times. There's different tracks. You go, you're doing this as long as I have, you go around and you have a lot of different memories. But Topeka, to me, is always that little bitty town that when we came in, we were like the biggest thing. And you go to Walgreens. Are you here for the races? Or you go to a gas station? You go to McDonald's. Oh, you here for the races? What team? Everybody in town was excited to see the racers coming in. They made a big deal out of it. You go back years and years ago, Remington's was a favorite country western nightclub on tour that everybody would put in an appearance at some point or another out there in Topeka. They have another adult establishment that there's still a lot of people that will stop in and visit from time to time. I've driven past it, but I really don't know much about it. But Topeka has always been a place that just really, really embraced NHRA when we came to town, and I think that I'll miss that. I'll miss the community as much as I miss the racetrack.
Well, let's hope that can transfer over to Flying H. If we do transfer to Flying H, which, like you said, you never know. Someone could swoop in and fix these problems. All it takes is money. I was going to mention Penny Bender, Bobby Bender, Penny Bender. Obviously, I know you're friends with Bob, and Bob texted me early in the week. We lost Penny. I wanted to mention her on the show. We did a wonderful Attention to the Pits with Bob and Penny a couple of years ago. It's in the archive, and just it's always sad, but this one hit me, and I know you're friends with Bob, and so I wanted to mention Penny.
Yeah, she was a wonderful lady, and had been sick for a number of years now, but still loved coming to the racetrack. When Bob would tell her, no, look, you shouldn't be traveling, we should stay home. Nope, that's where she wanted to be. That's where her family was. That's where her friends were. And, coming up on the starting line and watching him drive the station wagon, and just, she was truly a member of the community that we're all going to miss. And I look forward to the next time I see Bob, so I can tell him in person. But yeah, he texted me as well, and I sent a condolence message back to him. It's a classic case of we pretty much knew it was coming. We just didn't know exactly when, but that doesn't ease the sting at all. She was just a wonderful lady that loved being out with her drag racing family, and we're going to miss her. Yes,
100%. Alan, great job as usual. Some people are noticing, Jim Essex says that your chill chamber is on the fritz. Is that in fact true? Is the chill chamber on the fritz?
No, I shut it down in the summertime. When I'm not here, especially like on the Western Swing, I'm not home at all. I leave tomorrow. I won't come home until after Indy. So the shop, it'll be 95 degrees inside the shop when I'm not here. It's just locked up. And so basically the chamber ends up running 24 hours a day trying to stay cool, and I'm not here to drink the beer anyway, so I just shut it off in the summertime, but I'll fire it back up when I get home. I do want one more thing, though. I sent you a couple of pictures earlier.
Yeah, that's right, the pictures. Wayne, before you do that, Wayne wants you to tell us what the heck is going on. Phoenix, last week, right after we got off the air. Are they off the air? They're off the air. All right, put out the press release that the Radford School is going to be running the deal, and it's not dead anymore. And so there is actually more hope in the most recent week for Phoenix, as one of our people are asking out there, than there was 2 weeks ago, from what I understand.
Yeah, and I don't have any inside information. All I've seen is everything online like everybody else saw, because, again, I've been out of town. But I think that, there's certainly, I feel better about it now than I did then. The Radford School, I knew, had renewed their lease to keep their school there, even though the racetrack, the drag strip in particular, was going to be closing. But Radford now being able to extend their partnership with the Gila River Indian community to include the drag strip. And I know that drag racing has become part of the Radford's program. You can go out there and get like your street legal 9-second license and do that. That has become a bigger part of their program. What I don't know is if that's going to open the door to have outside events, or if it's just going to be that the school is going to use the racetrack for the school. But if the racetrack is still there, then there's a whole lot better chance now than there was going to be if they just went in there and bulldozed the place. So I, like everybody else, got my fingers crossed that maybe Wild Horse will get a reprieve.
There you go. All right. So what are these photographs? Is there a particular order in which I should display them?
Yeah, put up the milky first one. The one of the
Is this the milky
of the
one?
lifter. No, the other one.
Here we go.
That one.
Yeah.
If you look down in the lifter valley, you see how milky that is, right?
Yes.
Everybody that's been around race engines or any kind of engines understands what that means.
Yeah, it's bad.
That is the engine out of Mike Paz's super gas car. During the course of the weekend, he started noticing some water in the oil. So they did a quick diagnosis and thought, well, it apparently has a blown head gasket, but fixing it during the event was just not going to happen. So, well, you either shove the thing in the trailer or give up, or what? So what they did is they lowered the level of water in the radiator, and I'm assuming they either didn't run the cap or didn't lock the cap to keep the pressure out so that it wouldn't blow any more water than it was going to automatically do. And they just spent, used care. The beauty of Sonoma, right? You run the thing to the finish line, you can shut it off clean. You can just about coast back to your pits, because once you coast to the top of the hill, you coast downhill. Then when they call you to staging lanes, you can just about coast all the way to the starting line. So they weren't having to run the thing a whole lot more. He ended up winning the race in super gas. This is the engine out of the super gas car. His first national event win. They got home and took the thing apart, and then the second picture is the crack in cylinder number 6. But it held on long enough to win him his first Wally.
Right. And I think that's, I don't know what they think, but I think it's a good trade. And there's a great story associated with it, too. Like, now he's got a great story about his first win. He needed a new engine anyway. Come on.
Well, you know what? The block was going to be just as cracked if he'd lost. Yeah. So at that point, run it, right? Why not? You're going rounds. You got a shot. At that point, run it. But somebody sent me those to my, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the gentleman that sent them to me, but somebody sent me those to my announcer email and said, hey, I thought you'd think this is a great story. And I said, I do think that's a great story, so I wanted to go ahead and share it.
No, it is a great story. And, sometimes you got to make tough calls. And they continued to race, and they won the deal. So, great job. Alan, I'll see you in a couple days. Topeka, Kansas, we'll go. And Nikki says, Nikki Erickson is out there. She's like, just say baby dolls, for gosh sakes. I wonder how
is that the name of the place? Yeah, I don't.
How does Nikki know? Nikki Clark, how do you know? How do you know, Nikki? That's the question everybody wants to know.
She's got a brother.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Alan, great job as usual. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Joe. Sorry to be a day late, but thank you for accommodating me, and I will see you in Kansas.
It's all good. See you in a few hours from now. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. You can follow him at NHRA Reinhart. And while you're doing that, you can follow me at WFO Joe and the show at WFO Radio. And we're on Threads and Twitter and all of them. Everywhere. But really, the YouTube channel is most important. If you're watching, subscribe, click the bell. That's all I can say. Click the bell, never miss a show. We even have our own WFO mobile application where you can get all of this stuff. You can find us all for iPhone and Android. All right, I see some interesting comments in the comments section. I want everybody to put your comments in the comments section, but we got right to Erica, so I want to mention the people who make it possible, like Total Seal Piston Rings, and Foggett, and Bernie's, and Phillips Connect, Frank Hawley's, and Marvin, Sam Tech, FTI. These companies that you see their logos on the screen and I talk about on a regular basis, they are the reason that I was able to sustain this show, launch this show, keep this show going. Not everybody needs piston rings at every moment, but there will come a time when you do. And when you do, you should use Total Seal. Now, you should use Total Seal for a variety of reasons, one of which being that it seems like everybody that's making big power in any kind of racing discipline is using their stuff, from stock eliminator to Formula One. But I'd like to think that their support of WFO Radio is putting you over the top. And when you're talking with your engine builder, or if you are an engine builder and you've been using the same ring package for a long, long time, it has all changed and you can make a lot more power without doing very much different. It's just different philosophy, different numbers, different hone, different rings. Call the guys at Total Seal and they'll put you on the right track. And definitely check out Hidden Horsepower. You do not have to be an engine builder to get and understand what's going on Hidden Horsepower. Andrew Hines, our most recent guest, 3.6 horsepower per cubic inch on one of those Suzukis. It's insane. That's insane numbers if you're into that kind of stuff. FTI, of course, Pro Mod, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, Street Cars. They should be your number one call when it comes to transmissions and torque converters. And they certainly will be with me when Project Pontiac gets out on the racetrack, which will hopefully not be that long. Foggit, Foggit.com. Gary Stennett, Steve Williams getting together to solve a problem that racers have had since the dawn of man. The second you shut off your racing engine, microscopic corrosion begins immediately. Condensation, water, corrosion, rust, destruction, wear. And depending on the climate that you're in, like here in sunny South Florida, where it's extremely humid, it's much worse. Your trailer is a hot box of destruction. And are we using fear to create an urgency to purchase fog? It's just a fact. It's just a fact. And that's why it's been a very, very quickly adopted product by many of the racers who understand this. So whether you're a bracket racer, like I was talking to Gary about bracket racers, he's like, yeah, the bracket racers aren't into protecting their engine as much as the class racers are. And, I get it. That does kind of make sense with all the effort that the class racers are putting into their stuff. Ring seal is vital. But the first time you take your engine apart and you realize you didn't have to do it this way, you could have prevented it with a little Foggit, might encourage you to buy the $20 can. Go to the website and definitely get involved with the divisional contingency program. Bernie Speed Shop. This is Josh Hart's company, 100,000 square feet up there in Ocala, Florida, home of Garlits. Well, Josh Hart is doing a great job to keep that Top Fuel legacy going. He's got a couple of cool social media posts out there with Barracudas. I should have talked to Reinhart about that. Like Resto Mod Barracudas that are just incredible. They do restorations, they do frame off, they do everything from as simple as buying and selling. They also sell e-bikes. So if you're looking for an e-bike for the pits, go to Josh Hart because he supports WFO Radio. And then there's Phillips Connect, Justin Ashley. I'm excited to see Jim Epler this weekend. Talk a little bit about it. I watched the bit with Loans and thinking of the names. They're involved in all these milestones. Tim Richards, of course, was involved in one of the milestones with Chuck Etchell, and Mike Klober with Jim Epler. And Klober's out there. He's available. So the next team that wants to start up, there is a very talented crew chief that is available in an era where there's not too many people associated. But Jim Epler has resurrected that energy with Phillips Connect. And Justin Ashley, they've won 5 races this year. Jim Epler is back, and he's going back to the site of one of his greatest accomplishments. And so I'm going to be watching this Phillips Connect team here this weekend and see what they can do. I know they're excited to get out there and get a win for Jim Epler in this place to kind of close the circuit, right? The circle of the story, the circle of drag racing life. But in the end, It's all an exercise to explain to people with truck and transportation companies that it's better to know what's going on behind the cab than not know. More data is always better. And being connected with these Philips connected Wi-Fi senders, et cetera, and so on, online internet sensors, that's the word I was looking for, is going to be better for your truck and trailer transportation business. So go to phillips-connect.com, and you can always email me, joe@wforadio.com, with any of that. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Of course, Frank, the guy's a winner. FrankHawley.com. If you want to drive a dragster and experience it just for a single day, like a low investment, go do the dragster adventure. You'll love it. And then you'll be hooked for life. And that's when it gets expensive. And then, of course, Marvin Rodak. The easiest way to support the WFO universe is calling Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. He's going to be a big participant in the Stampede Speed Week as we go down there to Fort Worth area, Dallas, Ennis. We're going to be all over that place. Marvin Rodak is going to be all over the place. Some of our WFO Patreons are coming down, our big Patreon meetup. They're going to hang out with Marvin. It's going to be great. In the meantime, give him a call, order some coffee, and then there's Samtech. This is so important that the next generation of machinists, engine builders, CNC programmers, EFI tuners come up and in and online into our sport. And that's what Samtech is all about. Call Brian Massengill and tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. Hopefully, I stalled enough for you guys so you can put your final comments in the comment section. I've got a couple. You can become a Patreon. This is a VIP listener club for our members, right? They send in a monthly payment of their choice to access the backstage, the behind the scenes stuff. But if you just want to support WFO Radio in a easy way, you can get yourself some gear. It goes on sale from time to time. We've got a lot of it out there, including the Miami Hollywood Speedway shirts that everyone loves so much. One of our best sellers. All right, let's see what people have to say here in the WFO universe. Yeah, I do have news on Project Pontiac. All right, like here, Nikki. Don't forget Courtney Force getting the 100th pro win for women, and her and Brittany qualified number 1 together. That is kind of cool. JJ, the 2-for-1 tickets are only available at Menards stores within 150 miles of Topeka. I bought a few to bring some for first timers. You did not, JJ Husker fan. You got what? So what do you have? How's this happening? Well, you got free tickets for people. What do they need to do? They need to come up to you and say, like the code word. What's up? I don't know. Good job, JJ Husker fan. Long time WFO. Lauren, can't wait to see what Tony Stewart gets achieved in NHRA Top Alcohol Dragster for the rest of the season. Well, he did win out there in Maple Grove and has the points lead right now. And this is a huge story that I think is soon to be covered very well. The way the alcohol points are with the claiming of races, it kind of takes a little while for the points to take shape. Like, what's the battle going to be? And right now, it's looking like one of the battles is going to be Tony Stewart, multi-time motorsports world champion, IndyCar, NASCAR Cup, etc., versus Julie Natas, right? A Norwegian racer, daughter of an FIA world champion who is running in her final season. So she told me earlier this year of A-Fuel with Randy Meyer. Like that, what a juxtaposition of different drivers. Others are in the mix, don't get me wrong, but those are two of the players, and Julie's going to be running this weekend at Randy Meyer's home race. Like that is exciting to me. It is going to be very cool to watch those two square up and go after it. Look at Rick. Great job of expanding drag racing. If every drag racing fan bought a ticket for a first timer and then only, gave it to a first timer, we would double our audience. Heartland Park, Topeka, or now Heartland Motorsports Park, was my home track for 15 years. That's how you know baby dolls. Yeah. My first year going there, a lot of people told me, you got to go. I don't even remember if I went. I don't think so. I don't think I've been in there. Steve, who had a particularly great day as a commenter out there in the comment section. Another excellent show with a couple of great guests. Joe, thank you, Stephen. Thank you for sharing the show. You know, this is WFO Radio. We're fighting real hard against the MRN, the PRN, and CBS and NBC and everybody that's putting out content for you to enjoy it. And I like to think we bring something to the table. What we do not bring to the table is a big marketing budget to promote the show beyond the word of mouth. And so I like to think it's the best. It's a secret within motorsports that the insiders all follow. And I have people tell me that all the time. And I really appreciate Erica coming on the show. And so if you get the opportunity to bring in a new listener to the show, we'll do our best to make sure they fall in love with the sport the way that we have. And that's the best we can do. Let's see. Last Total Seal vid I watched featured Pete Harrell and HED Engine Service music. Big up, Arrow on the entertainment value. Excellent. Excellent. I'm going to have to check out that one. You know, Lake Speed is making a lot of the video stuff over there and doing a great job. One of my partners in crime, Lake Speed Jr. And don't forget, there's going to be a Total Seal Trackside Tech Talk coming up in the near future. So if you're planning on going to the big go, let me know and we'll make sure you get in on that. Frank Hawley probably looks like he did the last time I seen him 10 years ago, class act. Yeah, not only is Frank a class act, but yeah, the guy defies age. Pretty amazing. Stays relevant. You don't age if you do what you love and you stay active. Most excellent show. Joe loving it, of course, in his best Bill and Ted voice. It's hard for people to turn down free tickets in a ride to the race. It really is. It really is. Yeah, that's why. What was I listening to? I was listening to Life's a Drag with the Jasons, and they had Jim Oberhofer on. And Jimmo talked about his dad working at Chaparral Trailers and painting trailers. And it made me think that our sport, it's so niche, so tiny. He was within bicycling distance from someone with an alcohol funny car, and he would see the funny car and he would ride the bike over there and ask to polish wheels. And then I thought of Ron Tobler's story. He rode his bike past Dickie's dad's gas station or shop and saw the race car and went and started hanging out there. And look at those two guys as kids on bikes who rode their bikes up to someone who had a race car. They both turned out to be legends in the sport as just curious kids who were interested in racing. And it's, you know, that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Like, you've got to be a real go-getter of a child to go and force your way into someone's shop and ask them to work for free. It's, it should be easier than that, but you can also see the drive and determination. It also made me think, and I think I've said this recently, that the enclosed trailer is the death of drag racing. It really is. The enclosed trailer. What's in that trailer? No one knows. Do people even have race cars anymore? No one knows, because they're all hidden inside these enclosed trailers. And you are definitely disincentivized to showcase that there's a race car in there, right? Like, look at this race car that's in this trailer. It's like, hey, come steal it. Or come, you know, make sure we're in compliance and write us a ticket. Whereas back in the day when everybody had an open trailer, people who were just generally interested in interesting, cool things would see a car on an open trailer and ride alongside of it and know they were near a racetrack, know that racing was a thing, and be proven in and of that moment that racing was awesome and that they should follow that person. That's how my father found Miami Hollywood Speedway, to segue into a different personal story. He would just move from New Jersey down to South Florida and was out doing what people do. He was fishing on the edge of the Florida Everglades. He had gotten in his work truck, and he had gone out to find a canal, and he threw a line in the water, and he was fishing. You know, there was a Florida panther like came up and broke through the tall sawgrass and looked at him, and he looked back, and there was a moment of nature and fishing, and it was all of that. And then all of a sudden a rattly trailer rolled by with a race car on it. And he's like, what? being an old, English town guy and, being from Jersey, loved drag racing, loved all of it. And so he grabbed his tackle box and threw the pole in the back of the truck and jumped in the truck and chased the race car on the open trailer and followed him to Hollywood Boulevard and made a right and went across. There was no highway. I get that point. You just went out there and found Miami Hollywood Speedway, and his life and my life and all of our lives changed in that moment. And it was because there was an open trailer. If it was an enclosed trailer that was full of possibly lawn equipment, maybe a horse or maybe who knows, he would have never have known that there was a racetrack there. And maybe you would have heard an ad a month later. I don't know, but you just never know. And so, yeah, like we talk about how much harder it is for racers and racing to get popular and people to talk about it, even with all this social media. Like, you have to know about it already to be interested in it. The enclosed trailer, big part of it. Speaking of enclosed trailers, I just brought mine to my friend Rick the other day. We're going to try to weld the back door back on it. Project Pontiac sub-project. Joe's race car trailer be broke. When we were pushing the Trans Am into the trailer, I was going to get the motor plate and the mid plate done by my same said friend, Rick Daddy McDonough. Rick Daddy's done great work. Way to go, Rick. Rick runs Top Sportsman and is a very accomplished race car driver himself, who is now retired, looking for things to do, and has taken pity upon me. And so we're doing some work. I was over there yesterday. But when I went to put the car in the trailer door practically rusted off. This is what happens when you don't use things and you live in a very moist climate. And so I was going to have to figure out what I was going to do. Trailer, which are the trailer people? Oh man, trailer. Honestly, I'm not at the point where I can go buy a brand new trailer, guys. I just can't. It's not happening. So Rick's bring me the trailer. So I'm with you. When we traded in our open trailer for an enclosed trailer, I felt like a big shot. And it was way better sitting on the inside and having a microwave. It was way better. But open trailers, they were the jam. They absolutely helped promote the sport of drag racing. Julie Natas, one of my favorites. Watch Julie. It's going to be a great battle. She said bunny ears, Natas on flames out of the headers. Yes. I just watched, she went did a great job with social media. You got to follow her trip. She went back home. I use MRN and it's a pain in the line versus coming to your channels. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. We try to make it easy. WFO is everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, but you got to write us a review, man. That's what matters. You got to share the show. I say it all the time. Share the freaking show. It's the only way we're going to grow. That's just it. Joe, you're too humble. WFO is the best there is. Thank you. I try to do a good show. I try to be respectful. Try to do a good show. Bring back the ramp trucks to transport the cars. Oh, man, ramp trucks. Ernie McDaniel had the best ramp truck. First of all, at Miami Hollywood Speedway, Super Pro and Pro would be over, and people would kind of go walk to the concession stand much the way, they do now after the nitro cars run, or jet cars would run. The big show part would be over, jet cars at Miami Hollywood, and now Sportsman Eliminator. And what were the first couple of things to come rolling out with dial-ins on it? Ramp trucks. Everybody with their ramp trucks. Ramp trucks were awesome. When I went to visit Gary Stinnett, he had found his original ramp truck. Ramp trucks are amazing, and you take the car off the back of the ramp truck, and then you go enter the ramp truck in Sportsman, 18 seconds, and try to win double money. Amazing. The ramp truck's part of history, and you could see there was a race car on the back, and if you liked the idea of a race car, you'd follow it. And that doesn't happen anymore. Love the ramp trucks carrying fabulous floppers. Well, look at Snake and Mongoose. Exactly. Scott, Pickle Rick, 9:30 a.m. Round 1 Pro Mod E1 Sunday at Brainerd, which is the first race of their playoff, Road to the Championship, which that's 2 weeks away, but it's going to be totally different. The championship reset. It adds an intensity, and I am curious to see how the Pro Mod racers handle the added intensity. You know, these pro mod guys, they got a little bit of an edge already, right? There's a little bit of an edge there. And then, you know, you take away points leads and you squeeze basically the entire field up within 100 points or so. It's going to be something to watch. Before the track walk? Is that before the track walk? Whatever, man. More racing, more better. Simple as that. Again, guys, hit the WFO store. Pick up some swag so you can wear it. We got Morris Motorsports gear. You can find it on the website and on the mobile application, but just go to WFOradio.com. You know, I don't think I promote our website enough. And while you're still on here, NHRA's got a show called Driven that I am driving people to check out on NHRA's YouTube channel. It's called Driven. Austin Prock has got an episode, and the Pro Stock Motorcycle All-Star Callout has got an episode. And you should go check it out because everyone has been clamoring for some sort of reality-style show. And this is it. This is a version of it. 25 minutes long. Go watch it. Enjoy it. NHRA's YouTube channel. Subscribe. Click the bell. Don't miss one because they're going to be going through all the different drivers that want to participate. The driver has to want to participate, and they have to understand that it's a reality-style show. So there might be a moment where you look angry, like Matt Smith. Matt Smith looked incredibly angry, a seething rage. But we kind of knew that already. And you get to see the behind the scenes of Matt and Angie running against one another in round one of the Pro Stock All-Star Callout. Great stuff. All right, guys, thanks so much. This is it for this week. I'm headed to Topeka tomorrow. If you're in Topeka, watch my Twitter. We're going to have a Ron Capps watch party somewhere. WFO. Thanks to Erica. Thanks to Alan.